Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you?
Hi, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make a character look like it's talking in Flash. There's many ways to do things in Flash, and so I'm going to show you one method of making the character look like it's talking. If you have a different method and you think it will be easier for you or better quality, then by all means you can use that method. So I've got this marshmallow looking character, and I'm going to switch over to another file where I've just got the basics of the marshmallow drawn. And the first thing I'm going to do is to draw a mouth and some eyes. I'm just going to do that. Again, you could use a shape for it. I'm going to use the brush tool. I'm going to find a color that will suit. And so I'm going to go over here. Fortunately, I think this is off the screen. I go over to the color palette, and over on the right-hand side in the upper right-hand corner is the color globe. And I'm just going to pick a color that looks something like lips. And then I'll say OK. Now I'm going to use the brush tool. Again, I could use a shape tool. I could use whatever I want. I'm just going to draw out some sort of a mouth. And at this stage, I'm not going to be too concerned exactly what it looks like. I could go in and use the selection tool and make changes to it if I wanted to. Make all sorts of changes, but that's how I'll leave it for right now. I'm also going to use the brush tool to create some eyes. Again, I could use a shape tool. I could do this however I'd like. I'm just going to create some very basic eyes here. Okay, and maybe we'll put in some pupils. So I'll go here and I'll click create some blue eyes. And again, I'm just going to use the tool. I'm not going to get very specific with it at all right now, just because I'm trying to move on to getting the character talking. So now we've got a character that looks semi-okay. Next thing I'm going to do is to create a symbol out of this. So I'm going to use my selection tool. I'm going to select the whole thing, right click, and go down to convert to symbol. Again, I hope this is on the screen, but down towards the bottom I've got convert to symbol. Then the convert to symbol window comes up, and I'm going to name it. So I'm going to call this Mello Head, and make sure that it's set to be a graphic, not a button or a movie clip. Then we're going to say OK. So pretty much all of our symbols should always be graphics. I'm going to say OK there, and now nothing really seems to have happened, but over in the library I can see that I've got a symbol called Mello Head. Now if I double click into that one, then it's now gone into a nested scene, which is the symbol itself. And here I've got a new timeline. So I'm going to change my layer name, and I'm going to call this one Mello. And I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this one Mouth. I think I'll create another layer while I'm at it and call that one Eyes. And you might decide to do eyes independent of each other, but I'm just going to do them together for now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the mouth, so I'm going to select on it, and I'm going to convert that to a symbol. So I'm going to go into here, convert to a symbol again, and I'm going to call this one Mouth. And actually I'm going to call it Mouth Poses. So what we're going to do is we're just going to create different shapes for the mouth. We're going to say OK. And now I'm going to double click into Mouth Poses. And now again I've got another timeline. So the only thing that's actually here is the mouth. It's nice because it still shows me the outline of the rest of the Mello, but really the only thing that's in this particular one in the Mouth Poses is the mouth itself. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take that mouth and I'm going to create copies of it. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to say insert keyframe, and I'm going to do that several times. For the purpose of this one, I think we'll make maybe 4 or 5 different mouth poses. The more you make and the more different shapes of the mouth you make, the more accurate your lip syncing will look, but I'm just trying to do this quickly. So now what I'll do is I'll click on the second one, And here I'll just make some changes to the mouth. So I'm going to clear this one. I'm going to delete out what I've got, and what I'll do is I just realized that I'm actually going to end up with this white section missing here. What I should have done was to put the mouth on a separate layer and the eyes on a separate layer back when I was doing the other part. What I'll be able to do now, though, is I can still go back one level and get rid of the mouth, and just do the fill bucket over here, and we'll do the bucket tool and we'll paint that in as white. So I'm going to create another mouth here. So I'm going to click on the brush tool, and here again I could change my brush pattern, but right now I'm just going to do something a little bit more like an open mouth. And I'm noticing that I didn't change the fill color, so I'm going to select this one and change my fill color back to the lip color. I think that was about it. So, okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'll move to the next pose, and again I'm going to delete out what I've got, and I'll put in a new mouth pose. Go to my brush tool, and maybe this one I'll make it look more like an ooh sound, so more of a circular mouth. And again, unfortunately, I went and changed the brush color. I shouldn't have done that, so I'll have to click on it again. And I'm going to go back to here, grab the ink dropper, select my color. I've got it. Then I'm going to go back to this one and use this as my color. And now I've got that one into the correct color, so I'll make sure I won't change that this time. And let's make another mouth here. So we'll cut this one out, and we'll go to the brush tool, and maybe we'll draw in something a little bit bigger. And on this last one here, again, I'll cut that one out. And we'll do another brush shape. And usually what you would do is maybe make a shape with showing a little bit of the teeth, and then when you're doing a T, you would see your lips open and your teeth clenched. If you're doing an S, you might have a little bit closer. If you're doing different sounds, you might see a little bit of the tongue in between the teeth. And you can just go through and try to create different poses for these things. But right now, I'm just going to take different shapes. Okay, and now when it goes through, even though I'm doing it as roughly as that, hopefully you'll spend more time creating better shapes. But when I'm doing it even as roughly as that, it does start to make it look like the character's mouth is moving and talking, just because of the fact that it's actually changing shape, not really paying all that much attention to what the actual shapes are. But if you spend more time, create more poses, and create more shapes that would make sense with the different letters, then you'll have an even better looking sync. So let's go back now. So this was in the mouth poses. If I go back to the Mello head, and I'm going to, now in here, I'm just going to delete this one out for now. And I wouldn't need to do that except for the fact that I remember I want to click in here, and I want to change and fill in that portion of the mouth. So now I'm going to go back to here and click away from it, and I'm going to drag in my mouth poses. So I just drag this in. This is a symbol just like what you did with the vehicle in motion, where you had the tire as a symbol, and then it would just keep playing over and over and over again. This is really just a symbol. So now, of course, I've made yet another mistake. I'm just going to delete that out, and I'm going to make sure that I'm on the mouth layer, and I'll drag in the mouth poses again. Okay, and I can just position it wherever I want to. Once I'm happy with it, then maybe that will look okay, maybe a little bit up there. Then now I've got the mouth in there. So what I'm going to do now so I'm in Mello Head. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click somewhere further along in the timeline, and I shall hit the Shift F5, or sorry, I'll hold the Shift key, select both layers, and if I hit the F5 key, or I can right click, oops, I'm just adding in some frames here is all I'm doing. I can go to Insert Frame, F5 is the shortcut for that. Now I've got this through here, and what's happening is on the mouth poses, I'm just going to turn off the other layer. On the mouth poses, it just keeps cycling through those 5 poses as it carries on. If I added more frames, it would keep cycling through. But we don't really want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'll turn this one back on again just so we can see that. In the mouth layer, on the mouth poses one, I'm going to go to Properties, and I'm going to click on the mouth itself. And here, so I clicked on the symbol itself. I want the properties of the symbol. I go to the properties and I click on the looping one. I don't want it to loop. I want it to play single frame. And here I can change which frame it's going to show me out of those 5 that I created. So I'm going to leave it on the first one there, and I'm going to move along, and somewhere further along, if I right click, insert keyframe, on that one I could go and click on the symbol again, change it to one of the other poses. So maybe I want to go to pose number 2. And if I'm not sure that that's the right one, maybe I'll go to number 3. And if I hit enter, then I can see which poses I've got that I want to choose from. And I'm not all that crazy about the poses I made. Maybe we'll start there. So I should have done one more in between some of these, but for right now, let's take number 2. Okay, and if I then was to go further along, I could insert another keyframe, and I could change. If I click on the symbol, I can change which one I want to use. Maybe I want to use number 4 there. And so now, yet again, I get a different look. And now, as I move along, it looks like the mouth is trying to talk, or it looks like the character is trying to talk. So now what I would do is I would go back to the main scene, and I would put in the